We've explored many different time periods and a variety of fractured universes. Now's the perfect time to start fresh and let the zombies community discover a whole new world together. Black Ops 4 marks the beginning of a brand new storyline, separate and distinct from the Aether story, a new world with new characters and new enemies.
I really don't want to do this, but I know everybody already knows what's going on inside Black Ops 4. We're getting a brand new storyline that's going to have zero connections, and I repeat, zero connections between the old storyline, or I guess what they're calling now the Aether storyline, and this new one. They will have no connections at all, according to both the lead writer and the director of this mode, that being Craig Houston and Jason Blundell, have both stressed multiple times that they have zero connections. But of course, we're not normal people over here in the zombies community. Of course, we have to think of some way to connect these two storylines. No matter what the writer says, no matter what the director says, we gotta find a way to connect these two stories. And of course, that's sure as heck what everybody did inside the zombies community. But the thing is that personally, I do not think we'll ever see a connection between these two stories, because I do not think Jason Blundell and Craig Houston are lying when they say they have zero connections. But of course, like I said, everyone's going to find a way, and this actually annoyed me, especially with this weird connection. They're saying there's a connection between Shaw and Richtofen. And the connection they're seeing between these two characters is that they are wearing similar clothes. Yes, if you wear similar clothes as someone else, you have a connection to them. Clearly that is the case. Oh my gosh, this idea gets a little bit more crazy, because I heard this one that actually just made me laugh, that for some reason people are saying that Shaw is a reincarnation of Richtofen, and for some reason in your reincarnated self you wear similar clothes. Like, what? Okay, but anyways, that was a bit crazy. But then there was another idea that really was crazy, that there was some connection between Nero and Diego because they wore the same rings, I guess. I mean, okay, but regardless, those are the ideas that were being thrown around, and they were just really bad ones, to say the very least. So what I decided to do, I decided to share with you guys a theory that I came up with on livestream the day that this all happened. And I have not talked about this in a video because I just, again, do not think we will ever see a connection. But if we ever do see a connection between these two storylines that are entirely different multiverses or universes, whatever you want to call them, omniverses, I do not give a care, whatever you want to call them. The only way I could possibly think of a connection between them is this one way. And this all comes from a quote that we heard inside the Revelations by Dr. Monty. So I'm going to play it for you guys now and explain what I mean by it.
The Keepers, an ancient order who had been granted the wisdom to see beyond the limitations of their own realm. Even while the rest of mankind scrabbled around in the dirt, drinking their own piss, the Keepers took the mantle of benevolent watchers. Like the seers and sages of the old world, they could foresee how the actions of the apothecons would lead to the destruction of life itself. The Keepers have always been here, much like your good selves. They too were scattered and fragmented across the multiverse. They may have acted erratically, but know this: their actions were only ever concerned with the preservation of life itself. Remember what I said before about energy.
So this was a quite long quote that had a lot of different things said in there, but the main focus of this is when Dr. Monty mentions something called the seers and the sages of the old world. And of course, he's comparing the Keepers to these seers and sages, which is also pretty important. And where this actually all stemmed from is when I was on live streaming, like I said, but it was from somebody who mentioned that the people that you see in the Gladiator arena looked like the Keepers, and it reminded me of this quote, because I started thinking that maybe the Keepers are from somewhere other than this universe that we see them in. Because remember, before the universe, or not before the universe, but in the beginning there were only the Keepers, right? But where did they come from? And the idea is that the keepers, or they don't even have to be the keepers, but the whole idea, there was this mention of the old world. What is this old world? Could it possibly, and this is a really far reach, but could it possibly be the new storyline that we're getting inside Black Ops 4? A couple ideas to even grow this idea is that the Order of the Keepers is actually this exact same occult that we see inside the new storyline, but they somehow survived the end of that world and somehow continue to exist inside our Aether storyline that we are now experiencing. Well, I guess we are now and going to be, I don't know, you guys know what I mean. We're going to be experiencing inside Black Ops 4 and have been experiencing in the past. And this is an interesting idea, but this would imply that the storyline that we are getting, this new one, that universe, omniverse, whatever you want to call it, that one came to an end and it was the old world, and from that created the new, or the Aether world that we are now experiencing. Again, I said now, but we're going to be experiencing inside Blood of the Dead, and we have experienced in the past. This is the only way I can possibly think of connecting two storylines that have no connections, because the only way I can think to not connect them but have them connected is that one universe came to an end, and because of it coming to an end, it created a new universe. Kind of like the idea of the Big Bounce theory, where the universe just blew up in a big bang and then it collapsed on itself, then blew up in a big bang and collapsed on itself. You know that idea? It's pretty much that. That's what I'm considering here, and that's the only way I can think of connecting these two storylines. But besides that, I do not think we will ever see any connection besides this to these two storylines, if we even see this. But regardless, that's all I gotta say about this whole idea. It's really been bugging me lately, especially with these awful ideas. I mean, if they were good ideas to connect the two, I wouldn't have even made this video. And I would have probably talked about those ideas that actually sounded much better. But this one is probably the best one I've ever heard. But if you guys actually think it's possible, which I doubt myself, I do not think we will see this. But if you guys do, then go ahead and share the video around. Of course, do all the other YouTube stuff too. You know, like, subscribe, and bell. Yeah, belling is really important. But anyways, I'm going to go, and I'll catch you guys on my next video.